Welcome, my friends. This is Maniacal Incorporated, continuing on with the Great War for control of the southern half of the island of Ireland. We are at war with Cashel. Flansinna's army defeated an army belonging to the King of Munster. The new king, Laergus, marches past Cashel. And I'm not too sure, is he going to move up towards Acabo, or if he will swing in this direction and head for Flansinna. So I'm going to see what he does. This army here is going to march on Ross, and we're going to retake that. And we're going to see then, like I said, depending on what these guys do, we will see where Flansinna is going to go. So I'm going to let the first turn play out. And then we're going to take a look at Acabo. So we have a number of interesting developments indeed. Laergus has continued to push past Cashel and is heading for Acabo, which is currently being fortified by our son Donica. So that does leave us in a position to do a few things.
You can count on us.
Flansinna won't be able to march on Cashel on this turn, and this secondary army will march into Ross. They are raising troops here, so they're trying to raise a new army. The other thing of interest, if we wander up here, Dublin has landed with a 19-stack army. So this is the 8 stack that helped to liberate Acabo, and they look to be descending on Dublin. We've the Abbey of St. Bridget has finished being built, and we have gotten ourselves horse breeding, which I believe is going to assist with the charges for cavalry units. Now, we did see in the last episode that Munster has some solid melee units. They have some solid melee units. They've gone as far as Goal Oglig. So we might very well want to replace our Kern swordsmen with Rather swordsmen. So here in Acabo, we have the Monastery of St. Cainnech, and there at the bottom it even says Acabo means field of cows, build it and they will bellow. And he's known as Cainnech, and in Scotland he's known as Kenneth, and he's probably more well known for his connections to Kilkenny, the Church of Canis, or the Church of Cainnech. And I think there's also mention there of a story about how he's supposed to have led an army against the last arch-druid of Ireland, symbolically ending paganism in Ireland. There are some beliefs that Cainnech is basically another personification, that's probably the wrong way of saying it, of Saint Columkill. He's very heavily associated with Columkill, and there's a belief that it's maybe somebody forked the GitHub repo for the cult of Columkill and changed it to the cult of Saint Cainnech. So here we have Acabo, and as we move up, there's Clonmacnoise and Clonard, and we go way up here. I'm not even too sure where exactly it is. There is Iona. And in 697, Adam Noin, the abbot of Iona, wrote the Vita Sancti Columbae, the life of Saint Columba, or Saint Columkill. And this was believed to have been done on the 100th anniversary of Columkill's death. And there's a couple of interesting stories and a couple of interesting references to Cainnech in the Vita. In the first one, we have a stormy day just like this, and Columkill is chillin', illin', maxin', relaxin', just hanging out, but it's a stormy day, there's no boats on the water, it's too wet, too stormy, and all of a sudden he tells the monks to prepare a room and to prepare water to wash the feet of their guest who is coming. And they say, surely nobody could be crossing the water on a day like this. And he says, no, there is a man coming, and God is giving him a clear sea to travel on. And shortly afterwards, Cainnech appears with his entourage, And Cainnech and Columkill go way off, and the monks of Iona, they ask Cainnech's entourage what way was the journey. And they tell him that it was clear sailing. They could see in the distance there was a storm, they could see there was a tempest, but as they sailed towards it, it kept moving away from them, and they had a clear path, and indeed, God had given Cainnech this clear path to Iona. The next time we see Cainnech is the roles are reversed. It is Columkill that is out on his boat, and a storm hits, and his men are terrified, and they ask him to pray to God to deliver them. And he says, no, I'm too busy. He has a little Steam Deck, and he's playing Baldur's Gate 3. He's too busy. He's no time. Today is the day where Cainnech will pray and will save us. And I've seen some accounts which say that Columkill telepathically communicates with Cainnech. The description in the Vita Columbae, I don't know why so many people are involved. The Holy Spirit appears to Cainnech at Acabo. So he's at Acabo, he's praying. I think he's actually getting food ready, I'm not too sure. And the Holy Spirit arrives, and Cainnech realizes, oh no, Columkill's in trouble. What's that, Holy Spirit? St. Columkill has fallen down a well? So he gets on his left shoe. He doesn't have time to put the other one on. That's how it's mad. He runs out the door, and he says a couple of prayers to God, and God saves Columkill from a shipwreck. So if you put these two stories together, it's quite interesting. And if you look at them, there's a common thread running through them. So after reading these, I was like, this seems to be leading somewhere. And I checked online, and yes, Cainnech is the patron saint of the shipwrecked. So if you're playing Sea of Thieves, and a lightning storm hits the ship's on fire, Math plays, harpoons a powder keg onto the ship and detonates it, pray to Saint Cainnech. That's the man you're to pray to. So there does seem to be this kind of sense in Adam Noin's writing. Adam Noin claims to have been given this story, that somebody told this story to him, but there does seem to be a sense in the writing that he's kind of indicating that stormy weather, shipwrecks, this is the domain of Saint Cainnech. And as a reward for, well, I won't say as a reward, but as a thanks for saving him, Cainnech makes a second trip, there's probably a lot of trips, to Iona, and from there is said to take part basically in the Christianization of Scotland. Now this is why, this is where we start kind of getting into this idea that Cainnech and Columkill might be the same person, or might be two people whose lives are kind of getting mixed up with one another. There's a belief that maybe certain writers kind of suppressed Cainnech because they wanted to provide, they wanted Columkill to have all the credit for introducing Christianity to Scotland. But in Scotland there is a tradition of Saint Kenneth meeting with a Pictish king, Brood, and Brood is like, go away you, I don't believe in this god nonsense. So then Cainnech casts Hold Person. Oh no, he makes the sign of the cross, and Brood is unable to move, he can't move, and then says, okay, sure, yeah, I believe in God. And there's a couple of churches dedicated to Saint Kenneth in Scotland. There's actually one, there's a church to Saint Cainnech on Iona, but there's actual churches in Scotland as well. So that's a bit of the history of Cainnech. Was he real? Was he just Columkill by another name? Who knows, but he's the patron saint of shipwrecks. That's who you pray to when there is a shipwreck. Based predominantly at Acabo, which is a tiny, tiny, tiny village. Kilkennig would later become a much larger kind of town, city, and would be more strongly associated with him in kind of modern knowledge. But Acabo seems to have been the centre of Cainnech's cult. It's a tiny, tiny village, which is why I was laughing at the double walls of the area in the last episode. I'm enjoying the history rants and the history tours, and I might actually do some dedicated videos, because it is a bit difficult to hop back and forth between everything, and they're kind of split between all these videos. So I might do some dedicated videos looking just at the saints, we'll say, as they are depicted here in Thrones of Britannia. Right then, now that we are done with all of the fun history, it's time to get back to the boring battles. Let's take Flan Shinna, and let's march him north to assist with this army. Now, if they hit Akabo and attack the walls, they're gone. It's probably a bit of a waste to bring this much of an army up. We'll take this army, and we will retake Ross. So we have reconnected this area, and look at that. We have gone from 2 to 52 food. We were about to hit some problems, because I think Clon MacNoise is going to finish off a building. That's another 3 turns before that knocks 15 food production off. But it does show that we need to retain these buildings. We've only added 100 gold per turn. And that does actually put us in a position where we could have now recruited some forces for Donica. So we wouldn't have need to have brought up Flan Shinna's army. But yeah, it's fine, it's grand. And we will we'll go out and we'll... Ooh. We'll hit this army. They've only 11 forces. We'll auto-resolve. We'll go for a balanced fight. I was going to say, hopefully we didn't lose too many forces. So who exactly was that? I'm not too sure who they were the king of. Oh, that might actually have been the new king of... Oh, that was the new king of Munster. Ooh, awkward. So we will take on warriors.
My strength grows greater.
Sorry. Cainnech. Sorry. And actually, something I forgot to address, by taking Ross, we have gained 1 legitimacy. And you can see their natural decline of -1. Possibly because nothing happened on the last turn. So on the last turn or the turn before, I can't remember, I withdrew Donica. He was raiding around here, and I withdrew him to Akabo. And it looks like that has knocked us down to 8 legitimacy, but retaking Ross has put us back up to 9. We're probably going to see that going down now in the next while, and there we go. There's that bit of a problem. There's that 20-strong army that's probably going to head for Waterford. I should have probably just left my allies out of this. This is going to make things more difficult than they need to be, especially if they push for Cashel. Oh my god, if they push for Cashel. If you push for Cashel, I will kill you. Probably going to kill you anyway. But I will kill you if you push for Cashel. So here's our general. What's wrong with him now? Truly a lion among men. This man is a living example for others to follow. If only every one of your retainers was as strong, then all your problems would melt away like the setting sun at the end of a long day. So what are we looking at here? Public order or unit morale? Sure, we'll celebrate our heroes. I'm not too sure what's after happening in Dublin. The 20-stack army has disappeared. The 8-stack is still there. They look to have taken a bit of a beating of recent, though. So, no idea what's after happening there. Desmuin, South Munster, has named its army the Hounds of Ulster. Okay. So they've moved into our territory and started raiding. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring Flan Shinna's army to here. I have a feeling they're going to withdraw. And we will try and have Donica's army, because I don't think Donica has commanded any battles yet. I was thinking they were going to withdraw. Now, I managed to pull Flanchina's army back the way it wasn't taking attrition anymore. Unfortunately, this army is now taking attrition after marching it from Ross up to about here. Not too sure whether I want to march it on Cashel or not.
No.
Munster, under Congalach, their new king, their third king in as many turns, I think. Bless them. They're trying to get another army together. I think I'm going to hold it here for this turn. We'll see how they respond. They're not in a position, I don't think, to march on Kilkenny. And we can hopefully swing these two armies down. Could put one of them raiding and continue Flan's army down to strike Cashel. And we can continue kind of moving troops in then in this direction. Well now, this is interesting. Aloc's control of Dublin has always been problematic to us. I have a feeling if we decline and break that alliance, we're going to lose 5 legitimacy. But we're actually putting it together fairly well at the moment, or we were while we were raiding, and we'll get back to that momentarily. I think I'm going to decline and break this alliance. So I have no idea how he made that journey, but Munster has just hit Kilkenny and raised 12 troops there. So they marched from... Now I know he was a horse unit, but marched from Cashel all the ways to Kilkenny. So that's a bit of a nuisance. I'm going to pull this army back if he was sensible and marched towards his father's army, but I don't think he'll do that. So we'll have him retreat. That's interesting, why these guys are at such low levels. It does give us a bit of an advantage. No, it doesn't. Ooh, there's actually... We're about equal in terms of numbers. Again, though, they do have some better units. We will manually fight this battle. So it looks like they're going to give battle in a kind of a foggy weather, which might impact their archers, which is kind of strange because they have a lot of ranged units. And our reinforcements will be coming in from this side. So I've kept the troops kind of nice and close. The way that we can join them all up, I hope.
Who do they think they are? Not real Gaels, that's for sure.
Oh my god, somebody's gotten a loudspeaker.
Bring it on.
Well, all of a sudden, the Devils have broken into a gallop, and they're heading for the left flank of our army, where some of the forces have just come in, some of the new fresh forces. Now let's see where our ranged units are.
Make them fear us.
That's an interesting decision. So there's some horse boys, and their king is around in this region. There he is, actually. So heading towards our horse boys and our cavalry units in the background. I think, are we already beginning to see some of the javelineers withdraw, which isn't great.
We'll ravage their forces swiftly now, men.
To battle! Cavalry!
They seem to be just marching
Grind them
happy out. I'm not too sure what what idea they've gotten into their head.
turns.
Meet steel with steel!
They do have a lot of archers.
Cavalry!
Is that what they're doing? Bringing superior archery power to bear?
Javelins!
So some units have indeed engaged over this corner. Interesting. Right.
Makes now. Attack! End them!
And yeah, their king has gone in. I'm not going to lie, that was a strange decision, I think. So we're in a position. I bought my general across from the far left of the flank to the right hand side. And they're now in a position to get stuck in.
Hit them! Ravage them!
So everyone, withdraw!
So their horse boys have gotten in behind the back of us, which is a bit problematic. And they're now hitting the weaker units. Their general is running away. Their general is dead. So we should be in a position now to, yeah, to have our general basically chase down many of their archers. We're seeing a lot of their javelineers fleeing. We could see a bit of a rout in this region. Actually, we're already seeing the rout, which is a bit not great. So we're kind of just whittling away at their archers and whatnot. Where are my horse boys? Where are my horse boys? So they've been having a strange old day. So we're going to have to start bringing them in against some of the spear warriors, which mightn't be the best, but needs to kind of start to happen at this stage. That unit is gone. That doesn't exist anymore. Okay, not too shabby. Not a great rush in. I think we lost a good chunk of forces, but sending their general in so early was an odd one. And really, the amount of work that our mounted units were able to do here was tremendous. And again, a heavy reliance on their behalf on the archers, which they brought in just far too quickly. I don't think we've done enough damage to actually break the army in its entirety, but there's a lot of very weakened units making it off the field. There's one with just 10. I think there's one with just 1. There's a 9. There's a 14. So we'll hit this one.
I shall compose an ode to victory.
And probably call it there. So Akabo remains in the hands of Mide. So 215 kills by one of the spearmen, 296 by one of the sword units, 102 by Donica. Hiad was just unusual. Why they brought the archers that close in before doing anything with them, and then effectively committed them to the battle so early. And that is a lot more damage than I anticipated. We will use the unit replenishment. Enemy has been killed in battle. Best of Intentions is causing -6 to public order again. And some people have gotten traits for themselves. Olcavor has become an imbecile. Great. I suppose with the way things are there, we're going to have to march Flanshina on Kilkenny. So what I can do is...
None shall stand against us.
And we only have that bridge. So I'll have to bring him to about here.
Heading for glory.
And then bring Flanshina down to actually hit the unit itself. Should still be in a position to do so. Yeah, through a bridge at the north. So I'll give a quick look around. Do that battle and bring this turn to an end. That's actually Dunica's army. Where is Flanshina's? There's Flans. So that 20-strong army by Dublin has appeared again. It's taken Lochgower, finally. And I'm hoping it will march on Dublin, and I'm hoping, actually, that
No way.
this army might begin marching north towards Dublin. It might just ignore us in our totality down here. We've lost a good chunk of legitimacy, so -3 for the allies, -1 for the settlements, -1 because of natural decline. So I'm not really too sure why that's being imposed now, what the actual reason for that is. Because we have been fighting over the last couple of turns, but is it just you have to take settlements, and you have to raid, and you have to annex, and you have to get allies to keep that number up? I've made a couple of attempts to get marriage arrangements with Cainnech. Cainnech will not accept under any circumstances. There is a decree, major diplomatic bonus towards all other factions. We have the money, we don't necessarily have the legitimacy, so I might look at doing that. So it's a bit of a nuisance, because I thought we'd get out of here earlier. I don't necessarily want to take the risk of, because this army is actually in a battered and bruised state as it is. That is my army. How's this army doing? I'd say they could actually... They have more units. They have 12. And I'd say they could probably actually have more troops than this unit as well. So I think we'll have to, unfortunately, we will have to march Flanshina south to lift the siege of Kilkenny again. We could think about just auto-resolving it with 1,400 units to their 500. We might as well fight it. Now, of course, I should have thought about this, but our allies are going to be coming on the field behind the backs of the enemy, so we might need to try and get everyone forward. I won't say quickly. I'd say the poor lads don't know what to do. Let's see if we can get the horse boys to just cause a bit of bedlam. These guys will actually bring them a bit closer. So, again, I've said it before and I'll say it for the rest of my life. You guys are getting a lot closer than you need to be. So they rushed in. They've basically annihilated that unit. There wasn't a whole heap there to annihilate in the first place. Surf archers have decided to concentrate on the horse boys, so we might be able to get... We might be able to punish them for that. They're not charging. They are indeed, with some javeliners.
We're ready for this.
Oh, they've realized they made terrible mistakes.
Javelins.
Watch for missiles! Javelins!
Cavalry. Fire your missiles.
Wolfhounds are coming in. The enemy general has been slain. Oh no! Doggos! We have some spear raiders. Maybe not the best to be sending the general in against, but the numbers are fairly small, so I'd say a couple of wallops, and that should put them in a bad position.
Let's go right now.
Sort of a pretty hefty battle going on here in this region. So we don't have a huge amount of cavalry units that we can be deploying. The horse boys. Where can we get you guys? Maybe over here. So we'll just try and get some promotions for a few units. I think if we can keep the general, especially Flan himself, being promoted. See if we can get a gold chevron for him at some stage. There he is, in at the head of the army. And our other general, the poor man, making a long distance country run to try and hit the retreating archers. I think this was a really bad move by the AI. I don't know if taking Kilkenny actually achieved anything for them in terms of, we'll say, adding more food. But it put them in a position where they were able to recruit 12 soldiers, off the bat, or 12 units, but the problem was that those units were at half health and were very easy to hit and destroy. If they had stayed in Cashel, rebuilt the army in Cashel, by the time I hit Cashel, their 12 units would have been stronger, and they would also have the reinforcements from the building itself. So I don't know. It was a strange one. A strange decision. And there you go. The entire unit wiped out. What's that? 4 Kings of Munster in 4 turns? We will occupy. And Flann is after getting himself an upgrade after that. He has become confrontational. And he's no longer able to move for the rest of this turn because he has occupied Cainnech. So we will take Donnacha's army and we will send it against this broken Hounds of Ulster. And what are we looking at? Spring. We as might as well send his army in. It's in a fairly good position, and Donnacha and his Arig horsemen are at full capacity. Oh, these guys look to be in a bad situation. This is actually less units than I expected. I'm not too sure what's going on here. I think we might just send the 2 generals in against their general. There's our horse boy against their horse boys. Where our skirmishers are about there. So if I turn off skirmish mode and have them shoot at somebody, their general is not in a great position. By which I mean he's dead. They're moving their javelineers into a very strange position. Now they are hitting us with their horse boys. Everything that they have is retreating. You know, the devils, they're trying to get at our general with our horse boys heading out towards them. So again, Donnacha and his warband, or his horsemen, into the back of their archers. The horse boys will turn around to make a couple of throws at Donnacha. But sure, he's pure mad. He's raving and drooling like a lunatic. Now, the worst thing would be is if those horse boys have enough units to not break. Oh, God help us all. So there we go. Their horse boys remain standing.
Stay tight there.
Enemy has been killed. He's not in a position to march on that remaining unit, which could get in behind the back of... I'd be hoping it won't be able to get onto any of those regions. Are we able to raid?
Raiding party.
If we can raid from where we are, we'll raid from where we are for a turn or two. I don't think they'll be able to get to Akabo. I might start to trust a bit more in the auto-resolve, because some of these battles, there isn't really a need to fight them. They're more kind of a... I do enjoy the battles to a degree, but I can see why people might not. Right. What the hell do we do? I was going to leave you there and march out Flann's army, which I will probably do on the next turn. We could march that unit towards Cashel. He'd be there in 2 turns. He's taking a good chunk of a beating though, but if Donnacha came down and assisted him, we could actually move Flann's army in and have that do the raiding. I'll move that to there. Our problem is if something comes up from down in this direction. That's what's kind of a problem to us at the moment. Right. Okay, we're going to get some research on the next turn. Flan gained a good chunk of traits. He's become a man of action. Donica has become a war chef. And he's averse to risk. Again, try to organise a marriage for him. Another one with Cainnech not having it. And with Ulla, I think this is Ulla now. Or are they gone? Have they been pushed out of here? I think they might have been. Ulla was set up here for a short space of time. I think it was like these two regions. So Ulla had been pushed completely out of Ireland. So yeah, I'm not too sure who we'd kind of organise. Probably the only faction is this one here. That's pretty much the only one that we don't need to go to war with. So we'll bring this turn to an end. Something's happening in Wales. Who knows? Oh, those Welsh. They're mad. They're mad. Clerican has become paranoid. What's going on here? What in the good name of God is going on here? Desvuin has pulled its army back, so it's gone away off. We have the new King of Munster has parked himself at Cashel, and he's waiting to do a run into Kilkenny, just like the last time. Flan's army would not be able to reach Kilkenny, or would not be able to reach Cashel. So what we could do is move this army to where? I don't know if we could move you to there.
Forward we go.
It was telling me we could, and then we couldn't. So what I was hoping to do was to basically bring in Donica's army, lift the turn off the raiding stands, and have him attack the King of Cashel, which would bring out their reinforcements. I don't think it makes much of a difference, does it? I don't think so. He's in line for promotion. He's in line for a promotion. Or he's in line for some units. What will we do with you? We will give you -2 public order in the local enemy province. Do you know what? Or we could give him pillager, because I have actually been doing a lot of raiding with Donica. So he's probably going to be taken off of the pillage stance in a moment. But he is the one who's going to be following Flanchina's army and doing most of the pillaging. I've gotten a cloister library built in Clonmacnoise. I don't think that's going to do a huge lot for our... I think it's gone up from 160 to 175%. So we've just gotten... I think we got melee specialists done. And so briefly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch back to agriculture, +3 supplies in own or allied territory. And mostly pushing for that +1 to public order. And where's the big one that we want? Pretty much there, the +20% food production in all regions. Now we're doing quite well at the moment in terms of our food production. So we could return to Clonmacnoise, I think. And this would be... We're at the Abbey at the moment. This would be 10 turns, -75 food production. +30% income to the church. +20 fame. +7 public order. Do you know what? It's actually a bit low at the moment. We might as well. Let us push towards the monastery of St. Kieran. That's going to take 10 turns. Dublin has been placed under siege by that 20 stack army that disappeared and then reappeared. Not too sure where the 8 stack has gone to. And Argylla has taken Linz, so it would be handy if they kind of pushed northwards. I'm not too sure where they've gone with that other army, and I'm not too sure what's going on down here either. These guys are raiding Kilviceda, so they've started raiding one area, and we will stop raiding. We will get Donica, we will turn him off the raiding stance, and he's actually just out of range.
For the Morrigan!
Nope. Not in a position. I won't be able to put him back into the raiding stance. Well, that's a bit of a disappointment.
Fear us!
Ah, sure, look. There you go. There you go. Right, we'll have to kind of keep the army here. Because these guys...
No way.
Where could they make it to? They could make it to... They could make it to Kilkenny. They can make it to anywhere else. That at least is handy. So we should be able to respond to whatever they do.
Success brings
Absolute
greater power.
devil. Absolute devil. What are we doing here? Ahriman is distracted. -1 loyalty for Ahriman. He's at 7 at the moment. He would gain acrimonious or -1 trait for me. Do you know what? He's fine. Focus. Yeah, the kingdom comes first. Sure. So the devils. The devils. The devils. The devils. I've said it before and I'll say it again. So they're heading for Seir. They're heading for Seir. Can this army catch them? No. So they're going to take Seir. Oh, Lord. This kind of just weird running around is, I don't know. They're not going to be able to take Cashel. So we can start our Cainnech. We'll start moving them out.
Kill them all!
What'll we equip him with? We'll say 3. So there's a good solid. There's a good solid what would you call it? Defensive thing here. It'll be 2 turns before we get that built. So yeah, we'll just maintain the siege. We'll start sending you up to start chasing this down. I've no units any way further up. So yeah, you'll have to try and chase them down. They will take Seir. There is nothing to stop them from taking Seir on the next turn. They will be stuck there, however. Again, they're going to go up to a 9 army, isn't it? Yeah, okay. Or 12 or whatever. So at the end of his next turn, he's going to push for Seir, and I'm just trying to think what is taking Seir going to do for him. Plus 50 food production, because I'm hoping that we'll take Cashel on the next turn, and that will knock off a chunk of. It doesn't look like it's going to impact food production in any way, make, shape, or form. They're actually finishing off the Palace of Cashel. A curious landmark, a seemingly out-of-place limestone hill mysteriously situated on the flatlands of Tipperary. St. Patrick, is it saying it there? Oh, it is actually. St. Patrick is said to have banished Satan himself from a mountain located 30 kilometers away, resulting in the demon biting off a piece of the mountain, breaking a tooth and spitting out the rock. So yeah, that was basically, that's where the rock of Cashel comes from. Cashel is an interesting term. They actually point that out there as well. In Old Gaelic, Old Irish, translates to stone fort. So there's a belief, basically, that raiders from Ireland travelling to Roman Britain would have seen kind of stone fortifications, and that Cashel is an example of this. The Irish word for a castle is Cashlón, but that comes from the French through the Norman word for a castle, because you wouldn't have had castles in Ireland until the after the Norman invasion. So kind of stone structures like this are unusual, not unique. You have the Grianon of Alach, but they're kind of unusual, and the belief is that it was probably raids on Roman Britain that inspired this. What are we actually going to be able to go up to? So there's the rock of Cashel. There's Cashel of the Kings. So this was, of course, the centre of power of the Onacht Cashel. So the Onacht dominated Munster. It was made up of various different factions. I've probably covered this more in my CK3 videos. Actually, on my video on the rulers of Munster. So there'll be more kind of details there about how the Onocht was split up into various different factions. The Onocht Cashel around Cashel, the Onocht Loch Lane around Loch Lane in around Inishfallen in the west of the province, the Onocht Rathlin, the Onocht Cleoch, and all of this. But the Onocht, of course, would be effectively defeated and displaced by the Dalgash of Brian Boru. And into the early 1100s, in 1101, you have the First Synod of Cashel, which is the first in a number of attempts to bring Ireland into line with the Gregorian reforms. And the Rock of Cashel is donated to the church. And this is where the great kind of cathedral that's built on the Rock of Cashel later comes from. In 1111, at the Synod of Rathbrazel, the island is effectively divided into two metropolitan provinces, or two metropolitan sees, one of them based in Armagh, in the north, and the other in Cashel. So this is basically an attempt by the O'Brien, the Dalgash rulers of Munster, to turn Cashel into something that could compete with Armagh. And then later on again, in... what are we into? We're into 1154, the Synod of Kells. 4 metropolitan provinces are created. One in Dublin, the one in Armagh, and Cashel remains, and then one for Connacht in Tuam. So basically, Cashel is elevated in its kind of ecclesiastic importance, but it's it was once the seat of power of the Onocht kings, and then became an important ecclesiastical centre in the south. I'm basically just going off on that rant because I don't want to chase that army down. We will bring the year to an end. I think we can bring the year to an end. We have everything done. Yeah, you're just waiting there. You're waiting for things to be recruited. Oh, let's see what these devils do. So Ulla has been wiped out.
War is what we do best.
War is what we do best. I don't know about that. Successful propaganda. We've 6 to public order. So that's actually nice. We're getting a public order bonus for once. Again, I don't know what to say. There's some destroyed buildings here. Dublin has retaken Dublin. Foghorns. Ba 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 ba. Well done. This army, I have no idea where it's marching to. I don't know how it even got up there. I don't know why it didn't hit this army that's just marching around the place and that's taken Lochgower. But there you go, Dublin is back on the table. Dublin's back on the menu, boys. Waterford has fallen to Argyll, which is kind of actually handy because it's going to block them from recruiting forces and pushing them up in this direction. They have indeed taken Seer. Oh, the devils, right.
Our every foe shall fall.
I can't get you in there to... We'll bring you... Yeah, because it'll be bedlam if you have to try and march from the opposite end of the field. Right. With this man here. Donica, let us take control of Cashel. Yeah, for the Morrigan. Absolutely. I was half tempted to auto-resolve this battle, and I am very glad that I didn't, because this is a very interesting and a very unique site to attack. Here is a round tower and a church, and that sits on top of what I imagine is the Rock of Cashel. So our army, where's our army? There we go, there's our army, and that's the actual victory site, the Chieftain House. But I imagine by just getting enough forces in and defeating their forces, the battle will be called. The problem is that our troops are coming in, Our father's troops are coming in way over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to bring everyone over here, and we're going to attack this wall. There's a gate there, is there? There is indeed. So we'll bring them in on either side of the gate. But this is a really interesting looking location. I'll put those guys here. And oh, can I, how do I actually get you to face? Okay, sure. Oh, we can spin you around. Can we spin you around?
Swordsman!
Right round, baby, like a siege tower. There we go. So what I'll do is I'll get the rest of the forces over here, and then we will start. The battle is turning in our favor, and we have done absolutely nothing. I'm going to have to wait for some of these swordsmen and some of these Kern spearmen to make their way from Papa's army. There's Papa. So we'll wait for those units to get into place, because what we have pushing forward at the moment is some fairly wake spear raiders. Wake in terms of they've lost over close to 50% of their numbers. So we'll wait for some better equipped these guys wherever they are. There they are. We'll get them into place, and we'll start pushing the siege towers forward. Our spearmen are almost in position, so we will begin shoving the slow walls forward, or the slow siege towers.
Swordsman! Ravage them!
And inside the wall, they are getting javelin men. A lot of javelin men. Set up. Is somebody going for the doors? Oh, boys! They got flaming arrows. The devils. If they actually managed to set that thing on fire, we could be in trouble. So we'll need to start getting the forces forward and ready to hit the walls, because once these guys get to the wall, they're going to be under a lot of pressure. They're suffering heavy losses on this side. Fair play to them for continuing to push on. So this could be a tough battle. Now I'll get these guys. They can just walk over, and they can walk over. So we'll be sending the spearmen in first of all. We'll start trying to get, because they're in a chunk of different places. Get some swordsmen forward. We're at the walls. We're at the walls. Troops have gone in. We got some mailed Fina. And now it's basically just a matter of throwing everyone that we can in the door. Up them ladders and get in the door. And what we might need to do is bring one of our generals forward at some stage to try to give a bit of a speech. So he's dropped a bit of good news. An entire unit has perished. Whoa, that is the first time that I've seen that in a while. So this could be a tougher battle than expected. They are able to get arrows out in this direction, and they're actually hitting the High King as well. The devils! Here are our weaker units. We're going to have to start sending those forward as well. And we still have men driving up the ladders. Getting a good chunk of units wiped before they're even getting to the ladders. So it's a good thing that we brought in Dunica and the High King's army. I was thinking that we might be able to do this with Dunica and the army of Fahad, but I'd say they would have been in a bit of trouble. And you know what? Holding out for a third one of these might have been a good idea. Oh well. we'll know for the next time. We've driven a good chunk away from this gate.
Ravage them! Crush them! Attack!
There's these mailed Fina again doing tremendous damage. We see a door open. I have a feeling that's a bit of an invitation for trouble. Somebody's managed to set a house on fire. And we're driving them away from here. Chase them down, chase them down. Get away from the lather, the way we can get more on board. They do have fairly strong units that they can keep deploying. There is Cainnech with his spearmen. Praise God! It is victory. Now, let's see if we can go and set fire to a rock. Let's see if we can burn, not the church, not the round tower. Let's see if we can burn the rock itself. $535 losses, but if I am reading correctly, 2 of our sword units absolutely wiped. I'm not too sure were these maybe the sword units that actually delivered the siege towers. So they have been wiped in their entirety. And there we have silver, 3 chevron. So that's an expensive loss. So lost 535. That was indeed a hard push on the walls of Cashel. But it is a decisive but costly victory. We'll occupy.
Immediately.
And I think that is actually Cashel's last great building. So I'm not too sure where they've now moved their capital to. If they're even in a position to do such a thing. And if we look at Cashel, the other areas that are part of Cashel are... So where are we? We are in Lismore. So we have Lismore, we have Ardmore, and we have Imloch Ur. So if we could take there, and there. If we could try to... I suppose we took those places and then made peace with... I don't know. I'm not too sure, because I would like to... Because we'll have to take all of this region. No, that's Cork, that's fine. We'll have to take Ardfert, Inishfallen, Cardonal to get to Rosscarbery. It's Ross of the Pilgrims. I think it's Allagher. I'll verify that that pronunciation before we get any closer. But it's basically Ross of the Pilgrims, and that's where they have a monastery, an important monastic school, and that's the other building that we need to take, the one and only other building that's down here, and then we have Armagh and the thing that I've forgotten the name of. The Grianon of Alach. How are we losing that much money? Oh, I think I know. So we've no governor assigned here. Oh, that's right. That's right. Oh, no. I don't think we have to, but it is for the best. The Rock of Cashel. It's damaged. Minus 25 food production. 2 public order. 0 fame. Something about unit recruitment. 77 to fix. The Moot Hill. We'll repair it. The guardhouse. Yeah, the garrison did do a good chunk of work, and we have minus 1 public order, 52 income from industry. What does it do? Nothing, pretty much. Dismantle. Now, this hasn't worked out well for us in the past, but do you know what? I'm going to attempt to appoint a brand new candidate. Plus 20% income from farms in the governed province. I'm not too sure how many farms we actually have here. We could switch him around to another region later on, but generally recruiting brand new people has not gone very well so far. So what a better idea maybe would have been to nominate... Oh, I'd have to sack him first of all as our general. He's going up fighting somebody. I think it's Amol Gaed. Or Amol Ead. We're going to appoint him to Munster. Yes. Do you know what? Look at that. Loyalty of 3. That's not too shabby. I'm going to have to keep the army here for a while just to recuperate. We do have a very large... There's a 20 belonging to Tuavuan. There is a 10 belonging to Desvuan. Like I said, I would be very surprised if Cashel is in a position to actually inflict any more damage. It'd be handy if these guys would maybe take Kilvikeada, and when we have our big war, as we will inevitably have against Argylla at some stage, I could try and take that region. Probably the last thing that I will do is march here, and because we can't get any further, I will end the episode there. I thought we'd actually be in a position to take Seer. That's going to be problematic, because if they get much bigger by the end of the next turn, that could be problematic. We're in a position probably to take Seer back now, but if this continues much more,
For the glory of the Gales.
They might get a bit stronger. Head for Clonard, for Ardan. We have nothing to stop them. Oh, this could get problematic. So, at the moment of our greatest victory, we've taken Cashel. The very center of the kingdom is now at threat. But sure, who cares? We're spending the winter on top of a very, very cold mountain. And it'll be interesting to see. Well, it's a cold rock. And it'll be interesting to see what further advances the Rock of Cashel brings with it. And once I get that building undone, we can see about what else we might put in here to assist with improving this area, improving our army, and continuing our march. We haven't taken a huge chunk of land. I think I've taken 3 territories this episode. Only one of them is new. Most of it was cleaning up areas that had been taken from us before. But we are in a kind of a solid position. We might actually be able to recruit some armies from here, and if we can get that number back positive, we could see about recruiting a 4th army. Because we'll need one to deal with forces coming from this direction, we'll need one to deal with forces coming from this direction, and we'll just need to deal with these tiny, tiny little greased up armies, greased up speedy men on horses who can take Seer with 40 men and then rebuild an entire army from the ground up. Well, there you go. We've taken Cashel, and our war for control of the south and southwest of Ireland continues. Thank you for joining me on this one. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the history discussions. I know people maybe aren't finding the battles and the actual campaign part as interesting. Hopefully the history bits are some way interesting. And like I said, I might do a more coherent look at the history of Ireland in Thrones of Britannia at a later point in time. Thank you for joining me on this episode, and I hope to see you again on the next one.